Pica Poco Kitchen. Today we're making pork tamales Sinaloan-style, or like I like to call them, Christmas tamales. Vámonos! I'm super excited to share today's recipe with you today. Not just because these tamales are my absolute favorite, but because of what they mean to me. They immediately take me back to a kitchen full of people with everybody having a station to work on. They make me think of my grandmother who, when she was alive, would lead the kitchen, telling everybody what to do. My aunts and my mom acting silly and making us all laugh. My cousin, my sister, and I fighting not to have to tie the tamales, which is the worst job. My nieces learning all these funny stories about people in our family in the past. And just having a wonderful experience all together, and of course, enjoying the product afterwards. These tamales tell the story of who I am as a person, where I come from, and where my family is from. And I thought that there would be no better moment than the holidays to share them with you. I do have to thank my Aunt Olga, the same one from the potatoes, who has now taken the leading role when it comes to food. She's an exceptional cook, a wonderful dressmaker, and a dancer. And I called her to ask her all the nitty-gritty details that I needed in order to make these tamales as close as I remember. And she was so generous, she gave me everything that I needed. So I sent her a kiss. And there's a lot of prep to do, so let's get to it. The first thing we need to do is prep the husks. After I run each and every one of them under my tap to clean them, I put them in a deep bowl and cover them with boiling water. The water bath will help them be malleable again and also help with sanitization. You can absolutely do all of these the night before, so next morning they're gonna be ready to be drained and work with. I also like to put something heavy on top of them just to make sure they are all covered with water. For the meat, I have 2.5 pounds of pork loin. You can use any other cut that you want, just make sure that it has some fat in it. I'll chop it into pieces and send it to the pressure cooker with half an onion and 4 mighty garlic cloves. Give it a good season with salt and pepper and cover with water. I'm gonna be using 5 cups of water because remember that broth we're gonna use for the tamales. And to ensure a flavorful broth, I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon of beef broth. If you have pork broth, even better. While the meat cooks, we're gonna prep the chili paste. And for that, I'm using 6 ancho peppers, which I'm going to deseed and devein. Help yourself with some scissors. This paste is gonna be your base flavor. Ancho peppers are dried ripe poblanos. They have a fruity sweet flavor and very low heat. They are earthy and almost smoky. Now clean, we're gonna take them to the stove with half a piece of onion and a good amount of garlic. I have 6 big garlic cloves that I cut in half to remove the sprout. Cover with water and bring to a slow boil. When it comes to room temp, you want to bring everything to your food processor, included half a cup of the water. Season well with salt and pepper, 1 teaspoon of oregano, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of cumin. After processing, your sauce will look something like this. But we're not done yet. The first thing you need to do is set aside 3/4 of a cup of this chili paste for the dough. On a saucepan, you're gonna melt 2 tablespoons of lard and add the rest of your chili paste to it. Mix well and take back to your stove to simmer. After 45 minutes with natural pressure release, my meat is ready and super tender. So I'm just gonna break it apart with my kitchen tongs. And I say kitchen because with my pronunciation, sometimes things sound funny, and I don't want you to think that I'm using the ones that Cisco sings about. I'm too old for that anyway. I'll add my meat to my simmering sauce and take it back to the stove to finish cooking. We want to mix well and bring it to a boil. You'll know your meat is ready when it looks like this and there's no liquid left behind. Don't forget to give it a taste and adjust seasoning if needed. Besides the meat, these tamales are filled with an assortment of veggies. The ones that I'll be using are the ones that my family uses, but the recipes vary. So feel free to check other recipes and adjust to whatever you have access to or you like the most. All of the veggies will be cut in julienne. In the case for my two Roma tomatoes, I'm also removing the seeds to avoid extra liquid. I will also be cutting half an onion. I will also use canned jalapenos, and I apologize for the off frame. I don't know what I was thinking. The brand that I'm using is La Costeña, which is my favorite for this. For easy access when filling, I like to have everything in containers. Another veggie is potatoes. I have russet potatoes, but I recommend using gold potatoes or white potatoes because those cook faster. Since I'm using russet, I'm going to be cutting mine into thinner strips that I would if I were using white potato. This will ensure they will be perfectly cooked when the tamales are ready. Other filling traditional in my family is olives. I prefer to use the ones that come without the pit. And something else that my family likes to add, but I hate, are raisins. So I'll skip them. For the dough, I have 6 cups of masa harina that I will be hydrating slowly with the pork broth. I ended up using 3 cups and a quarter of the broth, but that may vary, so I suggest you add it a little at a time and see how much your masa requires. I'll pause the broth when the masa gathers in big clumps, just like this, and then I'm gonna add the paste. Integrate the chili paste until the color is even. Your dough is still a little bit too dry. We're gonna add more of the broth, so don't worry about that part. You can add the paste in 2 parts. Just make sure that it's evenly distributed and your dough has a nice texture. When your dough is smooth and evenly in color, we are going to add the lard. I melted 1.5 cups of lard in the stove and I will be adding it. Let me give you a word of warning. The lard should be warm. So please be careful since we're working with our bare hands. Only work with it as warm as you can handle. This is not a competition, and you don't have to be fast, since once the lard is melted and you keep it in the pot on top of your stove still warm with the heat off, it will last in liquid form for 1 hour. So you have time, don't rush it, and be careful. Also be gentle with your dough. Use circular motions to integrate everything. When the lard is completely integrated, your dough will be smooth and shiny. At this point, I remember that I forgot to add 1.5 tablespoons of baking powder and the first batch of salt. I should have added this when my masarina was still dry, but it's okay. I will just quickly integrate it and give it the first taste test. I said the first batch of salt because your dough needs to taste salty, almost on the border of too salty, because steaming process will dilute the flavor. So make sure to add more if you need to and taste again. In comparison to other tamales, this dough is denser in order to hold the weight of the tamal. You can even shape it with your hands. The tamales are ready to be assembled, so get your stations ready. Choose the best and biggest husks for the tamales And don't forget to get your husk ribbons to tie them. Like always, I like to get my big cookie scoop to divide the dough. This helps to keep the tamales even. I'm gonna spread it with a bench scraper, but you can even use your hands. Keep the dough in the center of the husk so we can tie both ends. Using your scraper, you can also limit where your dough starts and ends. And now the yummy part. Add a hefty amount of your pork and one piece of each of the veggies, maybe two potatoes because they're too thin. And don't forget your olives. I love them, so I'm gonna add two. And just make sure that everything will fit inside your dough. Bring the sides of the husk together, fix whatever you need to with your hands, or press down with the husk. We're gonna keep all the filling in the center by pressing on the sides. And now, like a candy wrapper, we're gonna wrap top and bottom. Set aside and repeat around 17 times more. I'll let this one play so you can see it one more time, but I think you got it. These are called tontos or dummies because it's just a little bit of dough with no filling at all. I had left over only enough to do one, but I'm happy gonna show you how you make this. And if you're wondering why we fought not to do the wrapping, you'll see a good example of why in this case. This happens way too often. Once and twice. So I guess who's the dummy now? These little tamalitos are enjoyed in the mornings with a cup of coffee. I got the steamer bottom in my pressure cooker. I'm gonna add 1.5 cups of water, layer down some husks for extra protection and to trap the hot steam, and then I'm gonna tucker in all my tamalitos that fit in for this batch. And since they are tied in both ends, I don't have to worry to place them facing up. They can be laying down as well. Now I'm gonna add some extra husks on the top and secure them with my trusty old little trapito. I'll cook them for 45 minutes, then I'll do a rapid pressure release and put a regular lid on just to let them cool down. And here they are. After all that work, they smell amazing, they look adorable, and they taste even better. This is a full meal inside of a tamal. Notice how I said that? Tamal. One. Tamal. Tamales. It's a little pet peeve I have. Something hits me or triggers me when somebody says tamale. And don't come for me by saying that the Nahuatl world is tamale. Unless you actually speak Nahuatl, everybody else in Mexico calls them tamal. So please do that. Especially, don't call them tamale if you say things like quesadilla or you think that taco shells are an actual thing. Anyway, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be rude and I don't mean to tell you what to do. I'm just begging you, please. Tamal. But let's move on to something more important. Let's taste them. You have to let them cool down so they set and you can eat them actually before you burn your mouth. And here it is. Check it out. But let's dig in right in the middle. Whoa, I need to show you. Check this out. Oh. Mm. They're fabulous. Now you have to know that this dough is gonna be different than other doughs. This is not as airy or as spongy. This one is more firm, but it holds so much flavor and it holds perfectly well all the filling in. If your dough was spongier, it would soak up on the juices and it would be a mess to eat. Delicious. I could eat them non-stop. In fact, I once did, and that wasn't pretty. It was my 30th birthday, and I asked my aunt to help me make some. We made so many, and I have to admit that I was very greedy because I wanted them for me. I didn't share enough as I should have, and I had them for a few days for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I'm just gonna say that I wasn't feeling very well after so many. So, if you enjoyed this recipe, just like this video, please share it with your friends, just like these tamales. Like, subscribe, and be notified. And for more, follow me on the socials. Have a happy holiday. I send you all the warmest hugs. Double the hugs, especially if you are spending this time far away from your family, because I know how that is. Adios, amigues.